the truth. I could buy it, but it's just a rental. It's not a good investment. Being bad with your money is being good at flexing. They always chasing a bag, I guess they couldn't catch it. They trying to be like me, but it's not a good impression.
So we recently got back from an 8-day trip out west, and I made a video over the whole trip, and it was an hour long. And in that video, I said I would go into more in-depth and shorter videos of the places we stopped. The best way I figured to break it down was day by day. This is day one. We are headed to the Cleveland airport for our flight that boards at 7:15 and departs at 7:45. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, it really doesn't matter. Whichever place is cheaper to fly out of, I will fly out of that airport. I only use Southwest, and they have a low fare calendar on their website. You can check any flight to any location, any day, and it'll show you how much it is each day. And one day it might be $49. The next day it could be $228. So I will adjust my trip around the prices of the flights, the prices of the room. There's a lot of research that goes into those. The reason I fly Southwest is I have a credit card through Southwest that we use for one of our businesses. And they give you points for every dollar you spend. And if you acquire enough points in a year, you get a companion pass, which is a buy one, get one free flights. And so it's pretty much BOGO flights for the rest of the year. You are allowed to use your points to book the first flight. So I can book a flight with my points and get my wife a free ticket and only spend $22. And then, of course, we use our points to buy my son's ticket. But at the same time, I understand a lot of people don't have that card and aren't able to do that. But when I bought the tickets, our flight from Cleveland to Salt Lake City was $49. And the flight from Albuquerque, New Mexico back to Cleveland was only $59. We are flying out of Cleveland. We have a layover in Chicago. Our first stop after we land in Salt Lake City, Utah, we are headed to the Bonneville Salt Flats. So it's a 2-hour drive from Salt Lake City Airport to the Salt Flats. I want you to experience some of the views. I got video and pictures. But since there's some time to fill the video, I wanted to go over some of the cost. I had a couple people tell me they wish they could go on a trip like that, and one day they wish they could do that. And there was like 4 or 5 people that told me this. Every single one of them, I'm like, bro, go. Like, it's not impossible. And they said, oh, I could never do that. I could never afford that. I don't know anybody's financial situation, but I don't know if they just haven't done the research. They don't know, or maybe they truly can't and they got to save. So I'll do a cost analysis and breakdown over these next couple videos. But for now, looks like we're about to be at the Salt Flats. The Bonneville Salt Flats actually cover 30,000 acres. It started during the last ice age. This area used to be called Lake Bonneville. It actually covered 1/3 of Utah and was 1,000 feet deep when it was at its prime, or I don't know what the word would be. 90% of that stuff is table salt. And if you go to the thickest areas in the middle of it, it's they said it's, I believe it's 5 foot thick, just salt for 5 feet. If you took all the salt and weighed it, it would weigh 150 million tons. And one of the other dope things I think was pretty cool is 3 times a year they have like a land speed race and different speed racing out there. And one of them is called the World of Speed. It's in early November, and they literally let you drive whatever you can bring. Rocket cars, motorcycles, souped up golf carts, whatever you can drive and runs, you can bring out there and drive it as fast as you can. It's a really cool place. You are allowed to drive out there certain times of the year. When fall and winter come, it gets a little softer. They put up barricades. We have been there when you were allowed to drive there, and we have been there when you are not allowed to drive over there. After the Salt Flats, we got a 3-hour drive to Shoshone Falls, which gives us a little more time to discuss the price analysis and breakdown. And it might take you 2, 3, 4, 5 years to save to go, but you can always make the plan. You can't execute a plan unless you have a plan. I just wanted to go over some of the numbers. I did a lot of the math to figure out the things. If you were going to drive from Youngstown, Ohio, I looked at it and I would actually include Mount Rushmore. That would be my first stop if I was going to go do the same trip I did, but drive from Youngstown. It is 1,330 miles from here to Mount Rushmore. That would cost you $180 in gas. So if you drove to Mount Rushmore, did the trip I just did, and then drove home, you would be looking at $700 in gas. Granted, we would still have to go over hotels, food, and things like that, but just the travel alone, you're at 700. And I'll go into more options for hotels, camping, rentals versus driving and eating, but I think we're about to be over there at Shoshone Falls. We head over to Shoshone Falls, which is known as the Niagara of the West. It is 212 feet tall and 900 feet wide. It is located on the Snake River in Idaho. When I got there, like I said, they call it the Niagara of the West. So I've been to Niagara Falls, and the amount of water that flows over Niagara Falls is mind-boggling. And when I got here, I'm like, this thing looks dry. And I did a little bit of research on each of these places so that way I could give you a little more information. And I actually learned more about each place doing these videos for you guys than I did in the research of where I wanted to go. So Shoshone Falls actually has seasonal flows. There's 3 different times of the year that the flows change. The heaviest is in spring because all the snow melts. Depending on how much snow fell during the winter, dictates how much water is falling over the falls in early spring. If we have a lot of snow during the winter, in the spring, the falls can actually be dropping 20,000 cubic feet per second of water. The summer has a medium fall. It still has a decent amount of water flowing, but in the fall is actually the slowest time of the year. And if you read about it, it says it actually can look dried up, which it did when I got there. And like I said, I was like, bro, this ain't nothing like Niagara. Well, the flows usually come from the snow. The snow is all melted. All that water has ran off. And even though there is a flow coming from Snake River, where it's located on, they divert the water that is going to the falls to use it to charge the reservoir system downstream. It does flow like Niagara Falls part of the year, but when I got there, it was fall, which is the slow season. And I'm like, well, at least I know that they didn't lie to me, and this thing does actually look like Niagara at some times of the year. After Shoshone Falls, we have a 1 hour drive to Richfield, Idaho, where the site of our glamping experience we got on Airbnb is. Um, we got there at night. I was hoping to make it by sunset, but we didn't make it. We had a lot to do the first day, getting the rental car, doing everything, getting loaded up, getting situated, going to the first couple places. We didn't make it for sunset, but it was well lit and easy to find with the directions provided. They also had a list inside the camper of way to operate everything, what you needed, all the information you needed. The camper, for a camper, was pretty luxurious, I would say. They pretty much had everything you would want or need. I'm sure some people would want a little bit more if you're all fancy and bougie. But when I'm out traveling and I know what I'm in for, I mean, I could sleep in tents, I could sleep in the car, I could sleep in the van, I could sleep in a 5-star hotel. I mean, as long as I know what I'm in for, I prepare myself mentally and I'm good to go. As you can see, they have a nice bathroom, full toilet, full sink, full shower. They had water. You just turn the pump on anytime you wanted to use it. You could take a shower, the bathroom, the sink. Everything was fully operational. The kitchen had coffee pots, pans, stove, microwave, fridge. They provided water and things like that. They had a little couch that had 2 recliners, another little seat area with a dining room table. They had probably a 38-inch TV. Netflix, Wi-Fi, things like that. Um, they had one bed. There was a tent outside with another bed in it. Heat, AC, solar panel, generator. They had electricity, everything you could need. Like I said, the tent was pretty cool. That's where I slept. I didn't go into the tent when I did this video. There was like 3 layers. I'm assuming it was for weather and animal protection. It did have a heater. I did not use the heater. When I woke up, it was 44 degrees, but with the blankets they had, it was perfectly fine. I woke up and made sure we got up before sunrise, and I'm glad I did because the sunrise out there was nothing around, and it was just amazing. Sunrise at our campsite we stayed at last night, a glamping campsite in Richfield, Idaho, and it is beautiful this morning. There's a little outhouse. They do have a bathroom in the camper though. Oh, look at that. That's what we need to wake up to every day. We decided to stay for sunrise. It was a little later than we wanted to get on the road. We were planning on getting on the road at about 7 a.m., but we ended up getting on the road at about 7:30. But it actually didn't affect our day at all, and everything still worked out good. And watching the sunrise, we just didn't want to leave until, the sun was fully up and we got to fully enjoy the experience. And it was absolutely worth it.
Did you hear that?
There was nothing else around, and it was definitely an experience I'm glad we got to enjoy as a family. And that pretty much wraps up our first full day. We'll get into day 2 on the next video, where we visit Craters of the Moon, Yellowstone Bear World, and Spring Hill Suites Island Park in Yellowstone. And we'll get a little bit more into the cost analysis and breakdown of the trip as well. I put a lot of time and effort into this video. If you could, you already know what it is. Let me get your like, comment, and subscribe.
But it's just a rental, it's not a good investment. Being bad with your money is being good at flexing. They always chasing a bag, I guess they couldn't catch it. They trying to be like me, but it's not a